tell you a little bit about my background. I told you guys I was going to get personal. I'm going to get very personal. My topic today is stop playing the victim. I'm hearing a lot of agents like, oh, I'm not busy, and oh, I'm not getting anyone answering my calls, or I don't know what to do. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background and how I was playing the victim when I first started, and how I had to move past that in order to become a professional. So I was born with epilepsy. And at the age of 5, my mother, a single mom, 2 kids, my older sister and I, took us to church and prayed for us. And at the age of 5, I never got it again. So she would have to, constant trips to the ER, and she was, treatment and whatnot, and it just went away. So I don't have a lot of good childhood memories. I grew up with a very strict Pentecostal loving pastor household. So that meant, and maybe my parents didn't do it right. They did. Their motto was God, church, and family. And I had to learn from that because I had a very tough relationship with God after, I moved out and whatnot. I caught my father cheating, my stepfather, at the age of 13. And the reason I'm letting you guys know this background is because it plays a big role in my adulthood and in who I am now as a person. So I grew up with silent treatment, grew up with, this is your fault, you did this. No real relationship with either one of my parents, specifically my stepfather. So I was used to the silent treatment. I was used to not showing emotion, and that was normal for me. At the age of 13, I was molested. I couldn't tell anyone because I didn't have that relationship with my parents. My sister would run away. She was in and out, so she wasn't really that role model. And I attempted to commit suicide at the age of 16. And I wasn't one of those kids that was good at anything. I wasn't good at anything. So I joke around saying, man, I wasn't even good at taking my own life. Like I tried it. Thank God it didn't work. But I joke around because I didn't have too many talents growing up. I'm definitely not who I was today. So I finally left at the age of 19. There was about 6 months there from August to January where I was getting to know the world, because I grew up with your shirt's too tight, that's too low. I wasn't allowed to wear jeans until 6th grade. We grew up very poor, not very poor, I wouldn't say that, but we didn't have the name brand. We didn't have the latest trends. 5 kids. My stepfather was a roofer, and my mother was just the pastor. So when I moved out, I was going and partying. Of course, I had already turned to drugs and alcohol, doing things like, of course, smoking pot, acid. I was doing ecstasy, anything to hide my pain, right? So I ended up being raped when I was 19, a couple of months after I moved out, because I was introduced to this whole new world and I wasn't aware. I was very naive. So then I met my children's father that New Year's, and he was the first man that showed me security, that showed me protection. So we immediately hit it off. But it was very much drug, sex, and alcohol. And, throughout the beginning of our relationship. Then I got pregnant, so I had to sober up. I was actually at the abortion clinic and wanted to have an abortion with my oldest. But thank God I had a best friend that talked me out of it and was like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? I just didn't feel like I was worth, being a parent. And I had just, gotten to this life where I was having fun and I was finally happy. So I didn't have an abortion. I had my child, and she changed my world. She's my best friend. She is a leader, an extraordinaire. She is amazing. I hope you guys get to meet her one day. And then I had a friend tell me, you know what, why don't you have your 3 kids and knock them out? Just be done with it. And I was like, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. So I'm going to have my kids while I'm young. And I was 24 when I had my daughter, and knocked them all out. And And then it started hitting me like, this is, I was moving up and their father was just not. So ended up getting a divorce, which was one of the best decisions I ever made. I ended up, losing my house, started dating. I had dated a couple of guys and then ended up with this one gentleman that ended up being a narcissist. Reeled me in, moved in with him. And after only maybe 10 months, he said, I'm not sure that I'm ready to start over and raise kids again, because my kids were little at the time. My daughter was 8 and they were all 18 months apart. So on Halloween night, there was a really bad storm that night. I grabbed my backpack, grabbed my kids and left with clothes on my back, because I had already lost my house. I had sold furniture. I had, got rid of all this stuff. And I just had pretty much his things, and I didn't have very much to my name. Little did I know he happened to be a millionaire. He's got a $3 million condo in Uptown. He's got a Lamborghini, a couple of, cars. I didn't really know that at the time, but I wasn't attracted to that. So I learned, after. They say that the average woman, it takes 8 times for her to leave a toxic relationship. So we were on and off for 4 years, on and off. And when I left, I moved into a friend's house that I didn't know was a raging alcoholic. And I'm talking like she would flip when she would be drinking, the anger would come out. And I was like, whoa, what is happening? But I didn't have another choice. I had to stay with her for I think it was like 8 months. It was her 2 brothers and her daughter in a 3-bedroom home. And then here comes Sal with her 3 kids. So there was 8 of us, and then her boyfriend would stay. So 9 of us in this 3-bedroom house with an office. I was sleeping in a full-size bed with my 2 little ones, and my daughter shared a room with the other daughter. So finally, something hit me. I woke up in a closet, laying on dirty laundry, and I was sitting on what I think was alcohol. I didn't know where my kids were that morning or how they got to school. And, the raging alcoholic was like, no worries, girl. I got them to school. I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. I told you I got your back. Well, she had my back, but as long as it was under her terms. And it was just another narcissist that I wasn't aware of, right? So I made a decision that January 1st to quit drinking, to sober up, quit smoking, and get my real estate license. Got the real estate license, didn't do anything with it. I mean, I got the material, didn't do anything with it for about 6 months. I ended up moving out because I couldn't take it anymore. Got my own apartment with 2 bedrooms. All 3 kids would share a bedroom, and I started studying again to get my license. So then comes, and the narcissist and I were now back together again. I got licensed. I was working 2 jobs. I was a full-time personal trainer. And then I was doing a little side gig, and then I was studying to get my license. And then comes my first year in real estate. So hence the title, Stop Playing the Victim. I had a very big reason to play the victim this whole time, because I had a pretty shitty, childhood and growing up or whatever. But first year in real estate, I get licensed in February. I was working 3 jobs now. I was training on the side. I was doing some network marketing for a roofer, and I was now a realtor. So I was on my way to an open house the month after in March. Totaled my car. My kids were in the car with me. I was dropping them off somewhere. But thank God they were okay. I broke my collarbone. I broke 4 ribs. I slipped 3 discs in my back. And I had both hands on the wheel. I wasn't texting or anything. I was just exhausted. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to stop at the side gigs. I'm going to go all in. And this was March. And the narcissist and I I just knew that I wasn't going to make it if I didn't leave him. So on Mother's Day, we broke up. That was May. Mother's Day, we break up. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I needed. In June, without getting too much into detail, the ex-girlfriend, which was one of the reasons that we were having issues, calls me and says, hey, I want you to train me. I heard that you're one of the greatest trainers and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what is this girl? Like, are you serious? But at the time I was broke. My first year, I was broke. Like There's broke, and then there's broke. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to train this girl because she's going to pay my rent. So I did. I started training her, and I knew I was setting myself up for, if I train her, she's going to tell me things that I don't want to hear from that relationship, which is good because I need to walk away. I can't keep going back. And that's exactly what happened. So in the meantime, my sister was battling breast cancer, my older sister. I'm going with her to chemo. I'm going to clean her house, take her groceries. Remember, I'm still a single mom. I don't get child support. I've never gotten child support. I'm not having any help from anyone. And I had signed up because I was a personal trainer. I trained marathoners. I trained people to run races, sprint triathlons and things like that. And I ran 6 marathons and numerous half marathons. So I was training to run Pikes Peak in August. But then my sister's like, hey, I'm going to have my double mastectomy in August. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to go. She's like, no, you need to go. You need to go do this for me. It's a 10-hour surgery. What are you going to be doing anyway? I was trying to get out of running Pikes Peak. Okay. It's 14,000 feet elevation and it's just up a mountain. So I was like, what have I done? Why did I sign up for this? Right. So I said, all right, I'll go. I called my friend. I got strep throat the week before. And I was like, hey, girl, I'm going to come down to watch you guys, but I'm not going to run because I have strep throat. I just want to be there, blah, blah, blah. I get there. She convinces me to run. She's like, look, your kids are here. They're going to be waiting for you at the top. What's the worst that could happen? There's a helicopter in mile 8. If you need to take the helicopter, then take it. And I was like, all right. So I set myself up. I had my kids waiting for me. My sister's fighting for her life. I had no excuse. So I finished that race. Finished it, ran it in 5 hours and 23 minutes, and it's one of the best things I ever did. I come back, my sister got through the surgery, and she was doing great. Come to find out the next month, my mother's diagnosed with breast cancer, and it's aggressive. So I'm like, can I get a break? Are you kidding me? And in the meantime, I am writing, deals. My first year, I wrote 11, I had 11 transactions. But it was very much hey, I'm sorry I didn't call you back. I was at chemo with my sister. Hey, I'm sorry I didn't call you back. I just found out my mother's got breast cancer. I'm having a bad day. Poor me, poor me, poor me. And that, I want to say that December, I went to the house and my little sister was staying with my mom. She was taking care of her. I walk in and I'm like, good God, when was the last time you took a shower? And she was like, Mom fell. I'm like, what? And clearly my sister needed help. So I was barely making it in my 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids. And I was on a team, so I wasn't getting full commission. I was getting 50% of everything. So I was like, all right, I don't know if my mother is going to make it. So I'm going to move in with her and help her. In the meantime, she's going to help me. And my mother doesn't have this $1 million home that I was like, oh, I'm going to go to my guest house. I'm going to stay with my mom. No. It was a house that's next to the church. That's for the missionaries that come, for pastors that come. That's where they would stay. It was not in good condition, probably less than maybe 1,500 square feet. And it was a very big sacrifice. It was in Dallas, and I had to drive to Garland to take my kids to school. So it was a 30-minute drive every morning, blah, blah, blah. So that was my first year in real estate. And I had to move past the poor me. I had to identify things that were making me, and I had one friend that told me like, hey, all right, we get it. There's only so much poor me that you can take before people are like, okay, and nobody cares. Nobody cares anymore. So I had to change my mentality. And that is when I started just going all in real estate. And I want to talk about 5 things that I, to this day, use that helped me to get out of that mentality. One of them was I had to let go of the victims. I had a saying when I first, switched this persona, probably my 3rd year in real estate. They're either going to drag you down or you're going to pull them up. One's going to happen. And if I'm not strong enough to pull you up, you're going to drag me down. And I couldn't afford that. I had to work too hard. I had a roofer friend that was he was a drug addict, and I was already sobered up. And I had to tell him, like, look, I really cherish our friendship, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me, because he gave me the opportunity to make some extra money when I first started, and would buy me lunch and things like that, knowing I didn't have any money. I didn't have any. So I felt like I owed him. And I'm the type of person that acts of kindness, that's my love language. So I had to separate those, and I had to tell him, hey, you know what? I'm not strong enough right now to help you, and you're going to drag me down your path. And I can't do that. I've worked so hard. So I had to let him know, confront him just face to face. And you're going to have to do that in life, is let go of those victims, those blood-sucking victims. Another thing that I do is I set one alarm. I have one alarm in the morning. Whenever you set multiple alarms, and I know some people are like, okay, that's not a big deal. Well, subconsciously, you know that you have another alarm coming. So you keep hitting that snooze button and keep hitting that snooze button. What it does to your brain is it makes it start shutting down again. It takes us 45 minutes to shut down. Once we wake up, it takes us 45 minutes to get up again. So every time you get up to hit snooze, you're restarting your brain and dragging it. And now it couldn't fully fall asleep, because you don't fully fall asleep. So now you don't fully wake up right away, and it takes you longer. So I set one alarm, and I act like if my life depends on it. Sometimes I jump out of bed and my husband's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, my alarm went off. So sometimes you'll have to do those things. And that's how I learned. The third thing is set yourself up. I set myself up training the ex's girlfriend. I knew that was going to hurt. I would go home crying sometimes, multiple times when we first started training, like, what am I doing? But I knew that I was setting myself up so I would not go back to that toxic relationship. When I ran Pikes Peak, I was setting myself up when I put my 3 kids up there on the top of the mountain. And I was like, what am I going to answer to my kids? Hey, babe, I tried, but I couldn't do it because my throat hurt. No, that made me keep going. That made me not stop. And to this day, I set myself up. Right now I'm doing the 12-week year, and they had you do a personal goal. And my personal goal was to quit drinking. So I quit drinking. I've done, every January I'll do dry January for 30 days. And this time I said, you know what, I'm going to do it for the 12 weeks. It's been a long time since I've done that. And I actually haven't put it out there to anyone but my accountability partners. So it's a little nerve-wracking, but
Now we know. So we're on you.
Yes, now everybody knows. Y'all can hold me accountable too. It's been 2 weeks. I feel great, but by telling y'all, I'm setting myself up, right? And if you don't do that with your goals, whether they're small or large or whatever, it's just not going to happen. Give. Number 4 is give. You've got to give back. When I first started, of course, I didn't have any money to give my tithes, but I'm a firm believer of, you don't have to give with your wallet. You can give with your labor. I had a client that had MS, and I grabbed my kids. I'm like, come on, y'all, we got to help this client. And we went and served him, and we did junk removal, and we cleaned his house, and it took us all day, but that was me giving back. I have almost, I want to say 90% of my referrals come from my friends and family, my sphere, because we give and do it with all your heart. When you do it that way, it just hits you differently. The last one I'm going to touch is identify your addiction. We all have addictions. When I would train people, I'm training, someone that weighs 300 pounds and they need to lose 100 pounds within a certain amount of time. I was training diabetics that had to get off of their medication. I was training, different scenarios, and I had to get to the root of the problem. So in summary, there's about 5 addictions that everyone has, and you have to analyze which one is yours. I'm constantly analyzing mine because they change. So number 1, and I'll give you the first 5, it's Jesus, church. Number 2 is drugs and alcohol. Number 3 is sex. 4 is fitness or food. It's one or the other, fitness or food. And 5 is workaholics. So Jesus, there's people that are, they're Jesus freaks is what we call them. And they put God first, which is great. My parents are still pastors. My brother and sisters are missionaries. And I have learned to love God again, to love going to church again. But if my daughter, who doesn't live with me anymore, calls me on a Sunday morning saying, Mom, let's go have brunch, you better believe I'm going to drop what I'm doing. I'm going to go have brunch with my daughter, because my relationship with God is me. It's not even my husband. My husband, we had baptisms at the church about a month ago, and I said, "Oh, I thought you were going to get baptized. I thought that you were set on that." And he's like, "No, I'm waiting for you." And I said, "For me?" I was like, "Oh no, baby, this is you and Jesus. This ain't you, me and Jesus. I know we're married, but whenever you go, you die and go to heaven, I'm not going to be there. Hopefully." So I was like, "No, that's you and God." So number two is drugs and alcohol. It's either alcohol or it's, there's a lot of realtors that, do extracurricular activities, I call them. You got to know when to put yourself in check. I come from an alcoholic background. My grandmother died of alcoholism. My uncle died of alcoholism. So I have to know, hey, I'm doing too much. It's been 3 times. I can't go there anymore. So my saying is, and I got this from Grant Cardone, not a huge fan, but I love this part. He's sober. I can't afford to be hungover. And what that means is I can't afford to waste half of my day. I can't afford to be groggy in the morning. There's deals to make. There's dreams to make come true. I can't afford to, look at my bank account and see thousands of dollars a month go to alcohol, which is ridiculous. For what? Number 3 is sex. You have to be okay with talking about sex and being open about it. But you've got to be careful with what you put in your head. So my husband and I have a very healthy relationship, and I have a 3-day rule. My 3-day rule applies to just about everything in life. I can't go 3 days without either watching a podcast from church, something that's going to, give me that satisfaction on when it comes to talking about the Lord. Number 2, drugs and alcohol. I can't go more than 3 days drinking in a row. If I drink 3 days in a row, that's it. I got to cut myself off. Same thing with sex. You got to take care of your partner. Y'all know, my husband knows that I don't cook, but when I cook breakfast, it's because he took care of me. So I don't go more than 3 days without taking care of my husband. And that should be in every relationship, right? Fitness or food. 3-day rule. I don't go more than 3 days without working out, some kind of physical activity. Food, the same thing. If I'm eating out and I'm eating at a restaurant, I've got to be like, hey, whoa, I need to go take my protein shake, or I got to check myself, right? So fitness is the same thing. We need that. We know that we work better when we get out there and just get some sun, you know what I mean? And then workaholic. It's real easy to slip into being a workaholic and just being obsessed with it. And I became obsessed with it. And that'll be another story for another day, but I've got to check myself when I've been just working, 12, 15-hour days. I haven't seen my kids. I haven't gone on a date night with my husband, things like that. You've got to really check yourself. So I wanted to touch point with Google reviews. I know we just hit 103 Google reviews, and I'm ecstatic because we worked really, really hard for that. And I'll let you guys ask all the questions here shortly. But it's really hard to get Google reviews. So in this market, if you're not doing something to stand out, if they're not punching your name in, typing your name in, and your name doesn't pop up in 5 different streams of social media, then you're doing something wrong. If you don't have a Google page, use your office page. So every office has a Google page. Why not have your clients leave you a review on there? Because that'll pop up. And we've gotten so much better. I took over our social media page here at the office. We were at a 3.3 rating, and now we're at a 4.7, because I'm encouraging agents, hey, get your clients to leave you a review here. Put your name. This is what you want to use. Your name, location, whatever location you want to serve, and the words buyer or seller. Okay. If you're bilingual, have them put in there, oh, my bilingual agent, the best agent ever. You've got to be really precise with these Google reviews. Same thing on, Facebook, Zillow, and all that, but Google is worth more than a Zillow review right now. And if you have a Google page and it's not screened, make sure and get that screened, because right now it's free, but they're about to start charging for it. So look out for that if you haven't. And if you don't know how to do it, Google, how do I screen my Google page? Pretty simple. But I'm going to open it up for questions.
Well, So first of all, your vulnerability is unmatched. You've gone through a lot, and so uh, I believe that your title of today's talk was, yeah, you know, don't be a victim. And I don't think I've ever had anyone in 80 plus, shows that we've done uh, who could step into, I've had all these things happen, and I'm a victim. And I'm so glad that you haven't used that as an excuse. You just move forward. So, but again, that says so much about you. And again, that's why I wanted you on. Briefly, does anybody have a question? And I know that the reviews have really helped your business. I think the way you serve and show up, I know is the reason why 80, 85, probably close to 90% of your business comes from your tribe and from your sphere.
Yes.
Anybody have any a direct question for us? Because again, this young lady is just doing big things, and I love what you're doing for the little office that can, which is Lake City's.
Yes.
I'm so proud to be an owner over there and have rock star agents like you that are really leading the way. Now, again, you and I both know we need about 10 more U's in that office, and then we're going to be exactly where we need to be, but we're
I'm
moving in.
training them.
Yes.
But yeah, speaking to that VIP treatment, we have a really, I've had agents on my team that do not see my vision. They don't see that, hey, we're going to treat every client as if they are VIP, as if they know Michael Jordan, because you never know who knows Michael Jordan. So I'm very, very set on how we treat our clients and how we, it's not just, we're going to go above and beyond. No, we're going to keep in touch. I don't do closing gifts anymore. I might do donuts or coffee or something, but we do a professional photo shoot with these families in their new home. So I hired a professional photographer and we teamed up, and it gives me an opportunity to stay in touch.
Amen.
It gives me an opportunity for that additional touch. Okay. If you don't have partners with a moving company, with a plumber, with a AC guy, you are dropping the ball. You're dropping an opportunity to touch someone. And that's so vital right now. The ones that are making it in the market, the 10% that are doing all the business, they already have, I have a spreadsheet ready. Like whenever I meet someone at a buyer or seller appointment, I'm like, here's your brochure. This is all of my contacts that you might need to update your home, to stage, to whatever. But still feel free to call me, please. So going above and beyond right now is an understatement. If you're just putting a sign in the yard, I mean, if you're getting a listing, you better know that you've got gold in your hands. That's gold. And if you're not getting every opportunity to post about that listing, so if you follow me on social media, you'll see how if I have one listing, I'll post the front of the house, and then I'll post the kitchen, and then I'll post the backyard, and then I'll do the neighborhood. So I get about 12 different posts from one listing. And you can do that with someone else's listing as well. It doesn't have to be your listing. If you're just starting off, remember my first year, I was broke. Guess what I did? I got my phone and I pushed this little button called Live on Facebook, and I started doing lives. I partnered with my title company. Hey, I need a gift card for my open house. Got it. Partnered with my roofer, with my insurance agents. Hey, I need this. I had to tell my title rep, look, I appreciate you doing these happy hours and always inviting me out, but I'm not going to go. I don't have time. The ones that have time are the ones that aren't doing the business. So why don't you focus on helping me retain my clients and get clients, instead of trying to, if I want to drink, I'm going to drink with my friends. And finally clicked. He's like, you know what? You're right. Every one of these agents that I'm taking to happy hours haven't sent me any business. Then I said, okay, well then what are you doing to help the agents that need the help? So partner with your title company, partner with your insurance agents. I just gave a seminar on Saturday, and it was all paid for. There was food, there was gift cards, there was goodie bags. But I partnered with, the panel, and I was like, hey guys, but you got to be passionate about it. We were talking about I-10 loans, and I was like, how can we help these people? How can we serve them? If you change your vocabulary on, man, I have to sell 10 houses, to how am I going to serve 10 families?
Man, amen.
It changes the whole perspective.
Amen. Yeah, we did that many, many years ago, as opposed to just focusing on that or GCI. It's like, no, we put it out now. Our goal is to serve the needs of 60 families. That's just me, right? So change that up. So I can't thank you again. I think you've given so much that folks are sitting here just digesting everything that you've had to say today. So I love you. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you joining us today. Because again, if you haven't heard that we need to persevere, regardless of where we've come from, what we've done. I think Sally has shown that, she has started to now to make sure that she's surrounded by people who lift her up, right? She's surrounded by eagles that fly high, not turkeys, who soar low, right? And Sally, I love what you said, is that, you know what, we're at a point right now where we can't afford to ... We can't afford to be hung over, right? We can't afford to think low when we should go high, right? We can't afford to insert whatever adjective it is that you want.